the voice that wouldn't let him stop. He didn't die for an idea. He died for something he heard. He was 70 years old, the most famous man in Athens, a soldier who had fought in 3 wars, a philosopher whose students would go on to shape the next 2,000 years of Western thought. And they gave him a choice: stop or drink the hemlock. He had spent his entire life asking questions that made powerful people uncomfortable. The city had tolerated it for decades. Now they were done tolerating it. He could recant. He could leave Athens. He could simply agree to be quiet. He chose the hemlock. Not because he was brave, not because he was stubborn. Because, and he said this plainly in front of the jury that condemned him, there was a voice inside him that had guided every major decision of his life. And that voice was not going to let him stop. What kind of voice is worth dying for? Here's what we know. Socrates was born in Athens around 470 BC, son of a stonemason and a midwife. He later described his own method of questioning as a kind of midwifery, drawing ideas out of people rather than putting them in. He served as a soldier and by all accounts fought with unusual courage. He was physically unremarkable, famously ugly by Greek standards, which he joked about freely. He wrote nothing, not a single word. Everything we know about him comes through Plato, Xenophon, and Aristophanes, 3 sources who portray him differently enough that scholars still debate which version is closest to the real man. The most influential philosopher in Western history left no text, no treatise, just questions, and one unwavering refusal. The refusal is where everything interesting lives. Here's the part that gets left out of most philosophy classes. Socrates talked openly, throughout his life, in front of witnesses, at his own trial, about a voice. He called it his Daimonion, a divine something, not a god, not a hallucination, a signal, always prohibitive, never commanding. It never told him what to do, it only told him what not to do. He described it as something that had been with him since childhood. It stopped him from entering certain paths of action. It intervened at critical moments. It was, he said, more reliable than any human counsel he had ever received. The Daimonion is mentioned across multiple dialogues by Plato, the Apology, the Phaedrus, the Theaetetus, the Republic, and independently by Xenophon. It is one of the most consistently attested details about Socrates across different sources. It was also one of the charges against him at trial, introducing new divine things into the city. Socrates never claimed the voice was his own reason or conscience. He distinguished it clearly from his own thinking. It was something that spoke to him, from where he said he didn't know. He only knew it had never been wrong. Question: what do you call a signal that operates independently of your own reasoning, intervenes at critical moments, and has never once led you wrong, if not divine? I'm not saying it was divine. I'm saying that's what he said, and he staked his life on it. In 399 BC, Socrates was put on trial. The charges: corrupting the youth of Athens, and impiety, failing to acknowledge the gods the city acknowledged, and introducing new divine things. That second charge is the one that matters here. The new divine thing was the Daimonion, his private inner signal that he had followed for 70 years in preference to public opinion, political pressure, and now, legal threat. He was convicted by a margin of 280 votes to 220. Not a landslide. A city genuinely divided. At sentencing, he was invited to propose his own punishment. He suggested the city feed him free meals for life, the honor given to Olympic champions, on the grounds that what he did for Athens was more valuable than winning a race. The jury sentenced him to death. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates, as recorded in Plato's Apology. That line gets quoted as philosophy. Read it again, as a man explaining why he chose death over silence. He wasn't making a general observation about the value of reflection. He was saying, a life in which I stop asking, stop following the voice, is not a life I am willing to live. What would you refuse to give up, even at that cost? Here's the thing about Socrates that stays strange, no matter how long you sit with it. He claimed to know nothing. That was his starting position. Genuine, not false modesty. He said the only thing that distinguished him from other men was that they didn't know things and thought they did, while he didn't know things and knew he didn't. And yet, this man who claimed to know nothing had absolute certainty about one thing: the voice. He never doubted it, never questioned whether it was real, never entertained the possibility that it was imagination or self-deception. In a life built entirely on questioning, that one thing he never questioned. The man who taught the world to doubt everything trusted one thing completely: what it would take for a person devoted to reason and examination to treat something as beyond examination. Either he was wrong about the one thing he never questioned, or he had found the one thing that doesn't need to be questioned, because it's what the questioning comes from. On the last day of his life, his friends gathered and wept. Socrates told them to stop. He spent the day talking about the soul, about what death actually is, about whether the invisible things are more real than the visible ones. Then he drank the hemlock. His last recorded words, according to Plato, were about a debt. A rooster owed to the god of medicine, Asclepius. A strange final thought. Scholars have debated it for centuries. One interpretation: Asclepius was the god you thanked for a cure, and Socrates at the moment of death was giving thanks. For what? For being cured of life. For finally crossing the threshold into the invisible world he had spent 70 years talking about. He didn't die reluctantly. He walked toward it, following the voice as he always had, right up until there was nowhere left to follow it. Next, the man who watched him die, and spent the rest of his life trying to build a world where that couldn't happen again.